hand it over to Miss Patti.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, all right. All right. All right. GMC bringing the spirit and the energy. I really, really appreciate it. Thank y'all all for being here. Can I see a raise of hand of my 9th grader, or the 9th graders here? Where are the 9th graders? Okay, good. Good. 10th grade? Great. 11th? Good. Seniors, where are you? Woo, 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 woo. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Excellent. So, like Ms. Deason said, my name is Patti Atkinson, and I am from a place called North Georgia Regional Educational Services Agency. When I say we, I mean North Georgia RESA. There's 16 RESAs in the state of Georgia to serve schools, to serve students, to serve teachers, to serve parents. And we follow closely with the Georgia Department of Education. So when I say we, I'm talking about North Georgia RESA. We serve you. My job is I'm a servant to whatever the schools need. So when I was called upon from GMC to come today, I said, yes, of course, I will definitely come. My first visit to a military college, I do this presentation all over the state of Georgia, and it's super exciting to be in front of our future leaders. So thank y'all so much for having me today. So when we think about school climate, we're not talking about the heat or the AC or the HVAC unit. We're talking about how you feel at school. How is your experience at school going to be when you interact with your academics and with your environment? So I have the autonomy in my job to just serve, whatever I can do to serve you. So one of the purpose-setting reasons I'm here today is I had the pleasure this summer of presenting at the State School Nurses Conference in Jekyll Island, and I met one of your people. I met Colby, and Mr. Colby is the nursing director of here at GMC, and he said, hey, can you come on up to GMC and talk about vaping just like you did at the School Nurses Conference? And I said, absolutely, absolutely. So let's just jump right into it. Before we get started, take a look at that agenda. There's a couple bullet points up there, 5. When you're done reading the bullet points, give me a thumbs up that you've read it, right there on the board. Thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you, 9th grade. Thanks, 10th, 11th. Thank you, 12th grade. I see you back there. Excellent, excellent. Alrighty. And secondly, we have some session outcome goals for you today. So when we think about deepening your understanding of the connections between wellness and vaping, we're talking about using the latest neuroscience research so that we can better educate you so you can make great decisions as a young adult. A lot of you, where's my 18-year-olds? Raise your hand if you're 18-year-olds, okay? A lot of my 18-year-olds are about to really step out there. And we're also going to strengthen your skills to support healthy coping strategies, because we know post-COVID, school's different, life is different. So we want to help you with that today. And I have a very personal story I'm going to share with y'all in a few minutes about how vaping has impacted me in my life, as well as my sons. I have 2 sons. Alrighty, so when we think about participation today with our time together in the next 40 minutes, we're thinking about active learning. And wherever you see in the slides that brain light bulb, that means there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing, okay? So research shows that if you can engage your participants beyond you just sitting there and getting what I'm saying, you will have greater outcomes with the understanding of the content, with using the content later on in life. And this goes for young students as well as old adult students like myself. So we'll use a chime today to come back together as a way that we know, hey, it's time to come back together. And this is what it sounds like, and this is what I'll do when we ring the chime. So when we're interacting, like let's say I have a turn and talk and you're turning and talking and we need to come back together, I'll just go like this. And I'll hold my hand up, and then you'll hold your hand up to show me that you heard that, okay? So let's practice, all right? You're like, what are you doing, lady? Don't worry, it gets better. So if I go like that, you go like, thank you. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, lastly, again, when you involve your participants in a way that they can be active and interact with the content and talk to one another about it, you increase participation, engagement, and then also positive learning outcomes. So that's the why behind what we're doing today with active learning. Alrighty. Just like in your classrooms, just like at some homes in school, we have a set of expectations or norms that help us know exactly how we're supposed to interact in whatever environment we're in. And so for today, our working norms together for the next 45 minutes will be these 3 bullet points: respectful, responsible, and an active participant. That will make sure that we are all upholding what is expected and our outcomes will be better. So what I need you to do well, first read the brain there. When you involve your participants into establishing working norms, the outcomes are greater. So what I need you to do is I need you to turn and talk to the person next to you about what norm right here you're going to hold up and what that looks like or sounds like or could be like in the next 45 minutes. When you hear the chime, come back together. Turn and talk, please. Thank you. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you for that. Beautiful. All right, let's keep going then. You all have it. All right. So when we're thinking about today's outcomes, I want to let you know that I know you can't tell, but I was born in the 1900s, right? And yeah. And back in the day, when at school or parents wanted to teach you something, they scared the living bejesus out of you so that you would not want to do something. However, we know scare tactics don't work. Thanks to modern research, as soon as we got that World Wide Web, remember I grew up when I was sitting where you were, it was the 80s, y'all. It was the 80s. We didn't know this information. We just knew that if we were at high school, before a prom, before a big football game, before the senior XYZ, they would bring in demolished cars, body bags, and things to scare you not to drink and drive, things to scare you not to take drugs. But they didn't know that scare tactics do not work. Scare tactics, based on research, make the person who's doing the behavior feel ashamed and not want to get help if they need help. Scare tactics don't create an atmosphere where we can have a conversation about what we're doing. It just makes people scared to talk about if they made a mistake. So today we're using the latest neuroscience brain research to talk to you about how vaping or e-cigarettes and nicotine affects your brain, affects your mental health, affects your well-being, and also your future outcomes. Okay, so thumbs up if you got that. Thank you. Beautiful. Alrighty, so for our first thing we need to do is we need to establish where your baseline learning is with the learning target today. So look at the blue learning target there. Read it. And think about how much you know about that learning target. And we'll use a fist to 5 pre-assessment so I can gauge, you can gauge where you're coming in with this learning target. So you'll hold up a 5 if you know a lot about vaping, wellness, mental health, that type of thing, all the way down to a 0. So 5 you'll hold up if you can come help me teach this. 4, you mostly understand it. 3, you understand it pretty well. 2, you need more examples, information. 1, you need help. Or 0, I'm speaking Japanese with this learning target. Let me see where you are. Fist of 5, let's go. Let me see. Good, thank you. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so as we get into our learning, we'll have a post-assessment as well so we can gauge how much you have grown during the next 40 minutes together with me. And when we think about the story I'm about to tell, I do have to give complete, transparent disclosure that the story I'm about to tell and how it connects to why I'm in front of you today, like why in the world? I live in North Georgia, y'all. Why would I drive 3 hours to come talk to strangers about vaping? Well, my story that I'm going to tell you in a second talks all about it. So if anybody in here is sensitive to difficult conversations, to traumatic things, I'm giving you a heads up that right now I'm about to tell you about a story that's not a fun story at all to tell. So if you are sensitive to this, please let this known that this is your warning in advance. So that sometimes helps people who experience these things, that if you can't sit through it, your teachers are back there. They will be respectful if you need to step out, if the story is too much for you. And also just gives you a heads up of where this is coming from. So once again, what I'm about to tell you is really personal. So I really need your compassion and your empathy as I tell it, because it's not easy to tell. No matter how many times I tell this story, I get choked up like I'm getting right now. So here we go. So raise your hand if you play football. Raise your hand if you wrestle. If you're a swimmer, baseball, basketball, track and field, Hope Scholarship recipient, in line to be a Hope Scholarship recipient, college bound. Yep. So I have 2 adult sons, okay? One of them was right where you are. Where are my seniors? Raise your hand. One of mine was right where you are, just turned 18 years old, and COVID hit. Everybody thumbs up if you remember COVID? Yes, so that's a terrible time. But let's back it up, beep, beep. 10th grade, my son, and he has given me consent to tell this story, so I'm allowed to tell the story. So that's going to give you a heads up that maybe everything's going to be okay at the end of the story. I'll give you a spoiler alert. So 10th grade, he's riding the bus. We live in the suburbs of North Fulton County, right? I'm in education. I used to be a K through 8 teacher. I used to be a social emotional learning coach, a school leader before I took my job as a school climate specialist. So I'm very much into education. My husband's a licensed professional counselor. We're very much into wellness, mental health, organic eater here, right? Doing all the things to be healthy with our kids. But we also have some deficits or some problems as parents. Could you give me a thumbs up if you heard of a helicopter parent? Okay, so guess what? We were bulldozer parents, okay? So take the helicopter parent one step further, okay? Just pushing everything bad or negative out of our kids' way. And that's not good for kids, just like ignoring kids isn't good. So let me get back on track here. So 10th grade, the assistant principal at the school calls and says, hey, your son's been suspended from the school bus because of vaping. And I said, really? You must have the wrong student because my son does not vape. And the assistant principal said, well, if you want to come down and look at the videotape with our SRO officer, we can take a look at it and we can talk about maybe figuring out what was in that vape in case we need to press charges. And I was like, oh, no, we're good. So just like any normal bulldozer parent would do, he came home. I said, hey, we never talked about vape. Like, we are a cigarette-free home. We do not vape, that whole thing. So he came home, and I was like, hey, what happened on the bus? I know you weren't vaping. He's like, oh, no, Mom, that was some other kids, but yeah. So we did what any normal dysfunctional, okay, helicopter bulldozer parent would do. We said, let's take you off that school bus because that's not a good environment for you. Let's get you a car so you can drive to school. Right? That was totally wrong, right? So fast forward, his sports, his Hope Scholarship, his honor rolls. Where are my honor roll students? Raise your hands. Okay? He also was that. 10th grade, had a bumpy year 10th grade, but he still maintained some of those things. 11th grade, decided not to play a couple of his sports that he had lettered in. Senior year, still making honor roll, but definitely checked out. Not acting normal, not being normal part of our family. Girlfriend of 2 years broke up with him of December of senior year of high school. We didn't know why. We just knew he was different. We were trying to figure it out. We weren't not doing a very good job as parents. And then COVID hit, okay? So he turned 18, COVID hit. So I was like, okay, good. I'll be able to stay home and micromanage his care and make sure I get him back on track, whatever could possibly be wrong, right? That's not healthy either. So first week of COVID, he's doing what normal teenagers do, well, at least back in 2020, using Discord to communicate with his friends and play video games, right? Right? That's nothing new. So middle of the night, one Saturday night, that first night into COVID, my other son, who's 3 years younger, comes running into the bedroom and says, Mom, Dad, get up. Something's wrong with brother. We rush into the room, and we find him unresponsive, completely unresponsive and completely not there. 911 comes. They're doing things to get him so that he can survive. It's very traumatic. I'll spare you the details. I say, okay, well, I'm going to ride in the ambulance with you to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. I'm going to come with you in the ambulance to the driver. The driver's like, oh, no, ma'am, you're not. He's 18 years old. He's an adult. You cannot get in this vehicle. He has not given consent. That's true. I said, okay, well, I'll meet you at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Oh, no, ma'am. That's for kids 0 to 18 years old. He needs to go to Northside Hospital. Like, okay, well, whatever. I'll meet you down there. So think about COVID. Think about that big tent outside at the hospitals during COVID. I rush into the tent. I'm like, oh my gosh, my son, he's unresponsive. He just came. I need to know if he's okay. And the woman said, and she was in a hazmat suit. She says, step out of the tent. Your son is 18. He has not given consent for you to know if he is okay. You need to leave. I was like, no, of course I'm not leaving, until security came, and then of course I left. So that went on for a couple days. We didn't know if we knew he was alive because they would have called us if he died, but we didn't know if he was going to have his brain capacity back. We didn't know if he was going to come out of the coma. We didn't know what was going to happen for several days until finally he did come out of it. And we went and visited, and, he was not the same kid he was before that night. I'll just say that. A lot of cognitive problems, just not being normal. And then come to find out, one of his friends, when he fell out on Discord, called my other son, and that's how we were able to get him help. Long story short, he's had many years of rehabilitation. He didn't go to the college he wanted to go to because of these issues. He did go to a different college, went to a technical college, and he is rebuilding his life, but it's taken many years to get back to a state of normalcy and good brain functions, and he's not vaping anymore, which is great, because what he was doing was he was vaping chemicals that he thought was THC or pot, which is illegal, of course, but as you're going to see in what we're going to learn today, many of those chemicals that go into vaping things, they're not suitable to ingest and put into your body or your brain. So that's just why I'm here today. I'm here today because I made a deal with God that night that I said, if you can just bring him back, I'll get in front of anybody who will ever listen to me and tell them, please be careful of vaping and know what you need to do. Because knowledge is power. The more we can empower you in knowing what you're doing, the better, most likelihood that you're going to make a good decision, okay? So we're going to move on. So much for allowing me the space to say the story, tell the story. And let's get into why I'm here. So we know that post-COVID research, students your age are reporting increased depression, increased anxiety, and they're engaging in more unhealthy coping skills. And when we talk about coping skills, we're thinking about ways to handle stress, okay? So thumbs up if you've been a little more stressed since COVID. Let me see where we are with that. Yeah, it's a real thing. Okay, so take a second. For our purpose of our learning today, when we talk about vaping, we're talking about e-cigarettes. Look at that statistic at the bottom right where the arrow is. 1 in 30 middle school students are vaping. And then look above it. When it goes to high school, 1 in 7 are vaping, right? Hopefully not here on this campus. Hopefully y'all are the leaders and you know the dangers, so you're not doing that. But look at the top. 2.5 million students your age are vaping right now. It is an epidemic in this country. Okay. So we're going to watch a quick video to set up with building your background knowledge. We'll do some Q&A as far as winning some prizes and things like that to answer the questions. Oh, okay. Oh. So Wi-Fi is down, so we'll see if our video will work. And you know what? Let's just keep it moving. We don't even have, well, we'll try it. Okay. You guys caught me on the fly here. Let's see if it'll work. It's okay. We'll figure it out. There we go. So when you're watching the video, watch it with a lens of something that you notice or wonder about the video, because we're going to talk about it collectively. So your notice or wonderings is what we're looking for. All right, turn and talk to the person next to you. What did you notice or wonder about the video? Turn and talk. Ooh, beautiful, thank you. So for the goodness of the group, would anybody like to share what you turned and talked about, what you noticed or wondered in the video with a quiet hand? Raise a hand, if anybody. Anyone? Yes. What did you notice or wonder when you turned and talked about the video? What did you talk about? Anyone? Yes, go ahead, sir. Yes, that's a great question. Yes. So the data, everything you're seeing today, great question, sir, and grab a little prize before you leave there. Great question. Where does this data come from? So at the end of the presentation, you'll see that I pulled from the CDC, the FDA, the Georgia Department of Education, Truth Initiative, which is my favorite vaping support resource, Cancer Society, Lung Association, and Stanford Medical, which is actually, that one's my favorite, but great question. Okay, so as we jump in, thinking about the minimum age to purchase nicotine in the United States. Go ahead and hold up a 1 if you think it's 16 for A. Hold up a 2 for 18 for B. There we go. Hold up a C for 21. D, 25. All right. And the answer is 21 years old. Yes, yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so we have to learn another expectation. So if you want to clap or cheer, that is awesome, but we're going to use American Sign Language, which is spirit hands for clapping. So everybody do this when you want to clap. There we go. And that's what we'll do. All righty. So yes, so you're probably sitting there wondering, where did my son get the vape, right? Because we don't vape. So kids bring it to school. Vape shops, they do not ask for identification in Fulton County, and many of the vape shops don't. They don't ask for identification. So hopefully the laws have gotten a little bit stricter, but yes, 21 years old is a legal age to purchase a vape. All right, next question. What's in an e-cigarette or vape aerosol? Hold up a 1 if you think it's tar, 2 if you think it's smoke, 3 if you think it's nicotine, or 4 if you think it's cancer-causing chemicals. Let me see you. Let me see you. All right, great, great. So yes, lots of cancer-causing chemicals. Take a look at these chemicals. Heavy metals. Raise your hand if you've taken, or a thumb, if you've taken chemistry yet this year, or this school. Yes. Right, so why would anybody put nickel, tin, or lead not only into their lungs, but into their brain, y'all? Look at these things, the nicotine, the particles. It's just amazing that a lot of students don't know that these aerosols contain these dangerous chemicals, but now you know, because knowledge is power. Alrighty, so take a second, look on the front of your orange handout. If you don't have one in the back, borrow, maybe y'all can share or buddy, but it's also right here. Take a look at those statistics and turn and talk to the person next to you about what statistic stands out to you. Go ahead, turn and talk, and in the back, if you don't have it, look at this statistic there. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you all for coming back together. Excellent. So you'll have that resource to look at, and those of you in the back who don't have it, I'll make sure I send a digital copy and we'll get you some made. Alrighty, so moving on. 2/3 of Juul users between the ages of 15 and 24 did not know that nicotine was in a Juul, okay? So thumbs up if you knew it was in there, thumbs down if you didn't. I'm going to be a thumbs down because I did not know it when I started studying this. Okay, good, good, good. All righty. Ready for your next one. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me make sure I got this. Okay, so how many cigarettes are inside of or could be inside of an e-cigarette, okay? A is 5. Hold up a 1. B is 10. Hold up a 2. Where are you at? Okay. C is 20. Do I have any D people? Spoiler alert. Y'all know it. Wait a minute. Wait. There we go. D. Thank you. Go ahead and turn and talk about which statistic is most surprising to you. Go ahead, turn and talk. Thank you. All right. True or false? There are no regulations on nicotine levels in your tobacco products in the United States. True or false? True, false. Let me see. Got to mix, got to mix. Those of you who said true, look at that. There are no FDA regulations on how much nicotine these companies are putting into these products. European Union, United Kingdom, and Canada all have a cap at 20. America is the only one that does not have any regulation. Where are my future political leaders in the room? Raise your hand. Y'all do something about that. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so just wrap your brain around that for a second, right? They're not doing us any favors. That's another piece of this knowledge, is that you could be, I know not y'all, but somebody could be ingesting up to 600 cigarettes in just a couple-day period if they use one of those ELF bars. Do you think that person, that consumer, has any idea that they could be ingesting that much? No. No, they want to keep it a secret so they can make money. Okay. All right, so long-term effects. Go ahead and take a look at the arrows. We've got some major long-term effects that we're going to talk about brain science in a second. So because your brain is still developing, it is more susceptible to nicotine damage than an adult brain. It's still bad for an adult brain, but when your brain is still forming until the age, we're going to talk about it in a second, it needs all of your brain power of doing healthy living, great coping skills, so you can have the best possible brain when you're my age, right? I didn't know that back in the 80s. I had no idea that the things I was doing to myself, there was no internet. How was I supposed to know? There was no Google. Had never even heard of Google. It's like, I wish I could have Googled some of the things I was doing, right? So you know now, knowledge is power. You know these things to have a healthy brain. Also, when you use nicotine, whether it's a cigarette, or I should say if, I shouldn't say when. If you choose to use nicotine in a cigarette, a vape, a Juul, whatever, e-cigarette, you're going to be more susceptible to other drugs that are far harsher on your body than the nicotine, okay? It also has a toll on your mental illness, and we're going to talk about that, or your mental well-being. We're going to talk about that in a second. So think about your teenage brain development. All right, that is a brain. I'm not sure why it's not advancing, but let's answer the question. At what age? You have a 118, B21 is a 2, C, you all got it. It is 25 years old. Yes, yes. All righty. Okay. So as we look at the diagram of inside the teen brain, I know growing up they used to say, they did tell me, you know, your brain is not fully developed, but they didn't tell me like why that mattered, okay? So let's talk about it so we can educate you and give you some more power. So as you see in the teen brain, you have your actions guided by a part of your brain called the amygdala. It's in the back portion of your brain, okay? So that is your center for emotional responses, okay? So your amygdala right now is nearly fully developed, so you're good there, okay? However, because your front of your brain, your prefrontal cortex that helps you with good decision making, impulse control, filters, buffers, that's not fully developed until 25, y'all. So y'all, not me anymore, thank goodness, y'all are walking around with only the emotional part of your brain fully developed, right? So if you really don't take time to stop and think about what you're doing, you can do some damage to yourself. So really we want to think about that, okay, the brain science. Also in the brain science, take a look at this, and it gives a little more breakdown. You're more susceptible to future nicotine addiction because your brain is not fully developed, okay? So it's really important that we understand the neuroscience behind brain development so you can make educated decisions when it comes to your brain. What you do to your brain from now until 25 years old is going to affect how well you're doing at 55 years old, 65 years old, 75 years old, okay? And if I had only known that when I was your age, I would have not done a lot of things, right? I'm a person now walking around, find my iPhone, where's my car keys? Like, it's not fun, all because I didn't have this information. We never talked about it back in the 80s. Okay, keeping it moving. When a teen brain uses nicotine, these things occur. Your brain development goes down and slows down. Your learning also slows down. Your mood is not as stable as it could be if you weren't taking nicotine. Your impulse control goes down, that filter, that buffer goes down. And also, it's a vicious cycle. Your depression and anxiety are increased. Students use nicotine because they think it's going to help with the anxiety and the depression, but they don't know that nicotine addiction is one of the harshest drug addictions there is, and it only creates more depression and more anxiety. So please be aware of that. So for the mental health connection, go ahead and take a second, read those 3 bullet points, and focus on that first one. The teens that were vaping reported more anxiety symptoms, depressive symptoms, and unaliving symptoms than those who did not vape. Second bullet point, the number one reason why students under 25 use vape is because a friend told them that it was okay to do, because that friend did not have the knowledge. Number 3, there have been lots of things associated with depression, mental health, wellness to students who use nicotine. I know I've already said that, but I'm going to keep saying it because the more you hear it, the more you're going to know that we're talking about your wellness here. We're talking about empowering you with the tools and strategies to stay well and healthy your whole life. Okay, some people, and this is where my son went wrong, some people use vapes to ingest marijuana, cannabis, THC, but little do they know that most of those things they're ingesting are even worse than the regular, like nicotine vapes, because they're man-made, unregulated. There is no regulation whatsoever. They can cause a lot of irregularities in your body. And I wanted you to know that one of the code words for THC vaping or cannabis vaping is dabbing. It took me a long time to figure that out on the text of my son's text. What is dabbing? What does meet in the bathroom to dab? What is that all about? Are we dabbing our hair? What are we doing? Are we dabbing our foot? No. Yes, right? So know that it is not. I know, right? I'm so cringe. But anyway, and nobody say what are those about my shoes. Leave me alone. Okay, so coming back to this, let me get back on focus here. Coming back to this, dabbing it's illegal, right? It's dangerous. We know all of these things. There's a lot of health concerns. And there's a lot of long-term effects. Like if I had more time, I would let you know that this box, that first box, oh my gosh, people who are using these synthetic THCs, right? We don't live in California where it's legal, or Denver, Colorado. It is illegal to ingest THC, and therefore there's a lot of black market unsafe things like what my son experienced. And 3/4 of individuals that are using these things are getting this thing called EVALI in their lungs. Could you give me a thumb if you've heard of EVALI? This is yes, this is no. Okay, I won't go into detail, but imagine somebody a little bit older than you, not much older, having to be on a breathing machine for the rest of their life, right? It's very serious. It's very, very serious. So also there's a huge uprise in fentanyl. Fentanyl is a drug. It's a synthetic opioid that can be prescribed or can be man-made. If it's prescribed, it's just as dangerous to people who it's not prescribed to. So please be on the lookout for that. I know up in North Fulton, where I'm from, in North Georgia, there's been a lot of students falling out from fentanyl. Some did not survive. It's very, very dangerous. Know your facts on fentanyl. Wait a minute, let me back it up. There we go. Know your facts. Know that a rice, one little piece, a grain of rice is a deadly lethal dosage. Know that a lot of people who are getting fentanyl poisoning are getting it not knowing that they're taking fentanyl, but maybe they think they're taking a THC vape, and really it was manufactured in the same factory or bathroom or dirty basement that the fentanyl is being made, okay? So please, please arm yourself with this knowledge to know that it is very serious. I've had students in my North Fulton counties that have literally fallen out because they have been in the same room as somebody using fentanyl, and they just got the fumes of the fentanyl. So it's really, really dangerous. Okay, so the next thing on the rise is we're having a lot of students experiencing with the Zyn. Could you give me, yes, I've heard of it, no, I have not, okay? Thank you. So Zyn, keep on the lookout. It's in the same family as unregulated nicotine. Yes, it might be a little bit less nicotine. It might be appropriate if it's doctor's prescribed for somebody coming off of vapes or somebody coming off of cigarettes under medical attention. However, these things are coming up in social media. Could you give me a thumb if you've seen it in social media? This is yes, this is no. Hey, they're on my TikTok page. I'm so sick of these people coming on my TikTok. I'm like, my For You page is not about taking these things. Why are they on my For You page? But here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. They are making it like candy-like packaging. They're taking advantage of youth like yourself, not knowing how dangerous this is. They're using social media to target you. So please know, be smarter, be savvier, be more knowledgeable. Empower yourself to know that these things are on the lookout. They're on the rise. Look at that. Looks like a piece of gum. My goodness gracious. And also for those of you who are concerned about the environment, if all else doesn't fail, where are my environmentalists here? Where are my scientists? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, please know that the effects of e-cigarettes on our environment, right, for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, they're dangerous. These things are going into our water streams. The plastics are being discarded everywhere. It's a real thing for our environment as well. Okay, y'all are doing so good. So this presentation is being live streamed. So this is more for the parents, but it could be for y'all too. I'm sorry it's a little bit blurry, but it's kind of a cheat sheet of code words for vaping. Because I know as a parent, I could have used this because it took me a long time on that Google to figure out what in the world is he texting about. I don't even know what this stuff is. So be on the lookout. If anybody's texting you any random, strange things, of course, I know you can Google it or AI it very quickly. And coping skills. Go ahead and flip open your participant guide to the page that says coping skills. It's blue. Page 5. Sorry, back of the room, if y'all don't have it. This is the visual. So on that page, I would like you to identify, self-identify, what coping skill you thank you y'all, you currently use, and what coping skill you maybe would like to try to use. So look at your sheet, look at the board, and then turn and talk. Which one do you currently use? Which one would you like to use? Turn and talk, go. Thank you. Y'all are wonderful. Okay, so my favorite coping skill, the breathing. Research shows taking one cleansing breath can lower your cortisol, can help you cope through stress, anxiety, depression, reset your brain. So that one's my favorite. You can do that at any single time of day. But keep going with your healthy coping skills, okay? Thumbs up if you can do that. Commit to it. You got it. Alrighty. There's a lot of ways and a lot of tips for quitting, and I'm going to give you some resources. Again, we're not using scare tactics. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if you have an addiction as long as you're getting help from a trusted adult, okay? So some things that you can do. Flip over to this page of your participant guide where it says resources. Thank you. Alrighty, so on the resources, I have created a QR code for you. So when you scan that QR code, it takes you to every single one of these hyperlinks, okay? So whether you're trying to quit, whether you want to have more information, whether you want to use this as a science fair project, whether you want to help a friend, a family, a person, whatever, you can scan the QR code, and then you can get right to the hyperlinks, okay? So thumbs up if you got that. You have resources. Beautiful. Alrighty. So for our post-assessment of what we learned today, can I please see your fist of 5 of that learning target? Let me see. Come on. Good. Good. Excellent, excellent. I feel good about that. All right. And then for our reflections, just take a quick couple minutes to reflect. First question. I'd like you to think about what are your takeaways today besides getting out of whatever class you were supposed to be in. What are your takeaways from being here with me today? And how will you use this information to be a leader in the world? So I want you to go ahead and turn and talk about this. 2 questions. Thank you. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so hopefully you had something very positive to say about number 1 and number 2, because again, when we learn things like this, it's one thing to learn it and improve for ourselves, but taking it to the next level, helping somebody else with this information, helping the world is only going to make it better for all of us. So I'm so glad y'all engaged in this today. Now, for the last piece, this is supposed to be, let's see if it'll come up, just a few minutes of question and answer. So that was just supposed to say Q&A. Does anybody have any questions that I could possibly answer? Raise a hand. All right, yes, sir? Can you stand up so everybody can hear you? Yes, yes. Yes, okay. So, thank you, great question, sir. So wait a minute, let me go here for a minute. All right, so see where it says Georgia Department of Education? They give what's called a student health survey every year. Give me a thumb if you've ever taken the Georgia Department of Education student health survey. It says things like, do you feel safe at school? Have you thought about a friend? It says things like that. So that data you're talking about, sir, came from the Georgia Health Survey. And you can Google it. It's free. It's open to everybody. I encourage you to take a look and see what your peers are saying. All right? Any other questions? Yes? Stand up so we can hear you. I love it. I love it, Natalie. Thank you. Yes, spear hands. Okay. So, Natalie, I'm going to give you my opinion because there's a lot of different opinions. I don't know that there's research 100%, but I'm going to give you my opinion from what I've researched. Show me the money. It's all in the money. People are being paid off not to talk about how unhealthy this is, okay? It's not in those corporations' best interest to tell us what's in these horrific things. Just like, okay, I'm gonna go rogue for a second here. Just like, have y'all been hearing about, I only heard about it this year, that there's a whole set of foods in other countries that don't have fake chemicals and additives that they serve to us Americans. Give me a thumb if you've heard about this. Like there's Fruit Loops and there's all these different things that are in other countries, right? That have real ingredients, but in America we have additives, right? So just check that out if you can, okay? And I think we have time for maybe one more question or two. Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name's Hayden Henry. I was wondering, is fentanyl like 100% illegal?
Ooh, good question. Good question. Look, wait, I'm wondering why we're snickering because that is an amazing question. So yes and no. So if it's prescribed, where are you at? Where are you at, my friend? If it's prescribed by a doctor to a patient, it is not illegal if it's prescribed to a doctor to a patient. If it's made in somebody's basement or I get prescribed and then somebody takes my prescription and sells it, and that happens all the time, then it would be illegal. All right, and last question, yes, sir. Yes, there is so much great questions, sir. There is so much good research out there. That Truth Initiative and the Stanford Medical Education, yes, I love the spirit. Who just did that? You're awesome back there. Thank you for cheering on your friend. Yes, look right here. You want to go to either Truth Initiative or StanfordMedicalEducation.org. Those two websites alone have a million tools to help you. I especially love both of them, but Truth Initiative stays on the FDA. They stay on with our young people and try to really get the word out there. I'm not endorsing anybody, but if you were to Google any of these associations, you would get the latest up-to-date 24, like today is December, whatever. You'll get the latest information from Truth Initiative is our #1 person or company who puts it out there. And then Stanford Medical is #2. Great question. Alrighty, so in leaving, flip your participant guide to the back and read the title of this presentation with me, please. Beautiful. So you all are empowered. Please continue to do wonderful things leading in your fields. And thank you so much for your time and attention today. Really appreciate it.